guy down the street. This was 1977, essentially 76, January 1st, 77 by the time I got my first board. It was New Year's Day. So I was looking at guys surfing around standing surf style, going down the hill. They built at the cul-de-sac. I lived in the residential before moving out to the country, and that's when I was really on my own. So I lived in the residential skating for about a year. And so at the end of the cul-de-sac there was a long stretched out super mellow bank painted like a wave, and so people would kind of like tube. There was going off curbs, going up curbs. You counted 360s and fractions of a 360. You know,
yeah.
270, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. It was like that. There's high jump, all the potted plants, grabbing those, setting up cones down the hill. There were legitimate freestylers. Only that was the West Coast. I was tucked away in Florida.
But you saw freestyle in magazines, or how did you see it?
I had never seen a freestyle board. They were just generic little boards back then. Like a lot of the guys had banes. We were banes, so they had no tail, no nose, no. I mean, people were still putting carpet on boards. And so I moved out to the country. I saw things in magazines. I started going to skate parks, and I'd seen one pro skate shop, and he could do a bunch of 360s, like a lot, like 15. And he could do footwork, and he did kickflips, where you hook your foot. And that's where I was exposed to the real thing. He was the first guy, one of the first guys on PAL, named Tim Scroggs. And that's the guy that I looked at, oh wow, that's what you can do. It's the guys who I had personal contact, or I looked, again, like a guy like Paul Rodriguez. I can't tell you how much I respect that guy. He's so, everything about him, he just humble, cool, real. He skates like, it's beautiful watching him skate. And at a distance, I don't really know him. I still lock up a little when I'm around, like, whoa, you're Paul Rodriguez. So, okay, at a distance I would say, I'm sure there's a couple like that. Certainly Paul would be one. But it's day one. Because he lifted my skating and he showed me so much. And of course, by what he does, and look at what he does, and look at, there's no one like him. Day one is certainly there. Jeremy Ray, for me, always, because I was retarded when I started on Plan B. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassing. Really. Transferring from freestyle to whatever it is that I do. And Jeremy Ray was he's one of those guys that influenced me because of how grounded, how approachable, how much he'd work with me. I didn't even know how to look. Like freestyle, you look down at your board. You don't do that street skating. You look at what's ahead of you, and of course down, but not, it's a combination. Me, I would literally plow right into things like a blind person because Jeremy was one of those guys to look at what a mess I was and to go, no, it's like this. And to walk through really logically. Yeah. And aside from how much I respect him as a person for the way he carried himself, is the authenticity, and he is who he is. And he's one of the most gifted guys ever, I think. Matt Hensley, very similar reasons, though I didn't necessarily have as much direct, I would stay with him all the time on Plan B. A lot of those Plan B guys had a big influence. And Matt, for sure. As far as freestylers, Steve in that early, even though I didn't know him, just the fear of him in a sense of, wow, you can be that good and he's that, like, he can make you feel that small, it like put a fire in me.